Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle May Curry, and I am the curator of DC's Commission on the Arts and Humanities. And you are tuned in for the second of 3 workshops related to our FY26 Juried Exhibition Grant Workshop, or grant line. And one workshop is enough. You do not need to attend all 3. It's going to be all the same information. This workshop is being recorded and it will be shared on our website for you to refer to. And we're going to be together today for a little bit over an hour, likely. I'm going to be monitoring the chat for questions, but I'm going to also be stopping throughout to see if there are any questions in the chat. And if you'd like to raise your hand, sorry, I'm trying to admit everyone if they're coming in. Please feel free to use the raise your hand function, unmute yourself. And I'm always happy to answer questions offline as well as they come to you. So as you can see here, we have a lot to get through. We'll be going over the evaluation criteria that the jury will be using to, sorry, I'm minting folks. The jury will be using to review your application. This is a juried exhibition, so there will be a panel jury of 4 people. Then we will go over some of the mandatory documents you will need in order to submit your application, some tips for navigating our portal. We'll actually do a live demonstration of how to put your application through our grant portal, and then I'll flag a few additional application support structures that we have for you. Sound good? Okay. Okay, first up is a video from our fearless leader, Erin Myers, who's just welcoming you to all of our grant opportunities this year.
Hello and welcome. I'm Erin Myers, and I'm the Executive Director for the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities. We're excited to have you here to support you in the applications process related to our fiscal year 2026 grant programs. As a designated state art agency for the District of Columbia, our mission is to support and uplift the artists, the humanities, professionals, and creative organizations, and the work you all do in all 8 wards 52 weeks out of the year. These workshops and live chats are designed to help you navigate the grant process, provide clarity on our requests for applications, or RFAs as you know them, and ensure you have the support you need to submit a competitive application. We're here to answer your questions and share guidance. So your journey, whether it's your first time or returning applicant, is for you to be successful. So thank you for joining us. And once again, welcome.
That is Erin, and if you see him out and about, I'm sure he would love to meet you, so please say hello. I'm also going to drop a couple links in the chat right now that will be helpful for you. These are just 2 that I always mention at the top that aren't fully related to our juried exhibition grant call this year. One is our e-museum, where you can see our art bank collection, which gives you a sense of the DC government's fine art collection. It just is a good representation of the type of work that we get to support in the district and might inspire you in your submission. The next is our YouTube channel. You're going to find a lot of relevant videos on our YouTube channel to all of our grant lines, so please browse. We have a lot of our workshops archived, and there's lots of helpful information about tips for applying, as well as how to photograph your artwork, etc. I'm also going to drop a link to the DC Arts Commission's website. That's just a general link to our website. I'm going to drop a link to the Juried Exhibition Grant landing page, which is where you can find everything you need related to this grant line. And then I'm going to drop specifically a link to our request for applications that goes into detail about all the nuts and bolts about this program. Please review that RFA in full before submitting. I promise you, it's like a syllabus. It's going to have everything you need in order to succeed in this application process. One more is a link to where all of our grant assistance and live chats and workshop schedules live. CAH has just a wealth of resources to support applicants, and this is a place where you can find sort of like all of the live assistance that we offer for all of our grant lines. Okay, so shifting over into our juried exhibition grant line and what it is. So our 200 I Street Gallery is the DC government's permanent gallery space run by the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities. It's over in Navy Yard in our headquarters at 200 I Street. And it's a 4-show calendar year for that gallery. Our annual art bank exhibition happens in the fall. We have 2 independently curated exhibitions that happen in the winter and the spring. And in the summer, we have what we call Juried Exhibition Grant, which is essentially CAH's mechanism for presenting curated exhibitions, juried shows around a theme selected by the curator, myself. And so it's a mechanism for us bringing in artwork in a different way into our gallery space. And it's a mechanism so that our public art team can present exhibitions of mass consequence and significance to the DC public and to the DMV region. Met some folks. So as I said, it provides opportunities for artists to show their work. In the city, we recognize that there's not as many places to show your work as a local artist as you might think. And so it's a venue for us to support artists in showing their work. We also would like to provide unique exhibitions in our DC government run gallery. It's a unique space in that it's not a museum gallery and it's not a for-profit gallery. We are not in the business of selling art, nor are we in the business of mounting, 6-month-long, heavily researched exhibitions, sort of institutional exhibitions. This is somewhere in between. We mount shows for about 2 months, 6 weeks to 2 months. And they're well-loved exhibitions, well-researched exhibitions, but we are not selling artwork. And really the reason why we want to welcome folks into our gallery is because it's a public art space. It's funded by DC government taxpayer dollars, and we want to encourage conversation, civic engagement in the gallery space. So the chosen exhibition themes reflect that desire. So this year's juried exhibition theme was created by me and is an exhibition. The title is called Rip Tear Collage as Critique. And it centers collage as an accessible and hyper-contemporary tool for engaging in social commentary. I think we can all agree that we're in a moment of mass rupture, of division, of fragmentation in our social and political communities. And we are undergoing mass transformation in how we navigate those ruptures. I think, and it is often said, that collage emerges as it is a democratic form that allows us to engage with rips and tears in a way that turns those rips and tears into new forms, moments to cohere, to repair, to reassemble. It's one of my favorite art forms, mediums. I dabble myself in collage, and I also am looking at a DMV DC landscape where I've noticed a lot of artists using collage in their practice right now. DC is chock full of really incredible collage artists. We also saw a really incredible collage exhibition come through the Phillips collection this past year, Multiplicity. I hope many of you were able to catch it. And after that exhibition happened, I heard a lot of artists say, man, I would love to see DC collage artists, their work taken up in this way. So this exhibition is a result of this moment, of this social and political moment that we're in. It's a result of my excitement for the medium. It's also a reflection of the work happening, the artistic work being produced in DC right now. So I want artists to think about collage as an umbrella medium, as a term that we can use to collect all of the different ways that it can be used as a visual technique, right? As a mending, as a blending of materials, but also as a metaphor. So how can we think about the fragments of the world around you? How can you think about remixing materials that otherwise haven't been brought together before? Can you juxtapose images and materials? I think about lots of different media as collage, right? So you can think of assemblage, bricolage, quilting, mosaics, even certain forms of music or video editing as various forms of collage. And so I want artists to feel emboldened to present work that pushes the definition of collage forward, or that presents your work within that lineage. You see that last question there, question number 4. How can collage be used as a metaphor for the patchwork and collision of the Americas and its multiplicities? I have another slide coming up that looks at the exhibition timeline. For this exhibition, it's a summer exhibition opening in mid-June and closing in August. And this, overlaps with the 250th anniversary of the Americas in July, where we will see a massive increase in tourists related to that anniversary. Many people are engaging with that anniversary in different ways and attempting to make a statement about the Americas and that anniversary. This is not an exhibition that is explicitly in line with that celebration, but you might see it as an opportunity in the nation's capital in this moment to really engage with American history, the Americas as a concept, especially as this exhibition allows you to think about collaging, mosaics, bringing together the ripping apart of those various forms. We have a great lineup of jurors related to this exhibition. All of them have ties to the DC and DMV region. Terry Henderson is a curator based in Baltimore who is the founder of Black Collagists, which is a Instagram platform and sort of general project, arts project that platforms Black collage artists nationally and internationally. She's also the arts and culture editor at Baltimore Beat. Next is Helena Metaferia. Helena is a really well-known collage artist who is also in the Multiplicity exhibition at the Phillips Collection. She is a professor at Brown University, is from the area, and is now based in the New York and Rhode Island area. Next, we have Zoe Charlton, who is director and full professor at George Mason's Visual and Performing Arts program. She is herself an artist, was also in the Multiplicity show, and we're really excited to have her, and then myself as well. I'm going to be a juror for the show. I'm seeing a question in the chat. Will this PowerPoint be available after the meeting? Yes, I will share these slides as well as a link to this recording. So please feel free to not take full notes unless you feel compelled to. So here is a list of key dates related to this exhibition. So we released the call for artworks in late October, and we have a submission deadline of December 1st at 9 p.m. It's a Monday. This is a hard deadline, and if you find that your back is up against the wall, it's 8:55, you can't find the button to submit. If you're having technical problems, I'm happy to help. But if you're late, you're late. We will assemble a jury panel to select the awarded artists for this exhibition. And that will happen in late January. Then we will take those selected finalists through our compliance process, present them to our commission, which happens in February, and in early March, we will notify the awarded artists of our selection. That means that March, April, and May, you have the opportunity to work on the work related to the show if you're producing new work. I will get into that in a second. You do have the ability to propose work for this show as opposed to submitting existing work, so you can feel free to present existing works. So March, April, May is work time, if that applies to you, and late May is when you will deliver the work to CAH for installing in early June. And our exhibition will open June 11th and will close August 14th. So to be eligible for this grant line, there are a few requirements. First, you should be an artist or artist representative, meaning you represent the artist's estate in some way. And you must be age 18 or older. If you are a student, a high school student, perhaps a senior, you could be eligible for this exhibition. You should be a legal resident of DC for at least 1 year prior to the application deadline, meaning if you've only been in DC for 6 months, 3 months, you unfortunately have to wait until you've been in DC for a year. And then you have to maintain your residency in DC for the funding period, meaning through the payment, through the exhibition display of this show, you should be a DC resident. And if you have any prior awards from the DC Arts Commission and have any outstanding reports related to that grant line that you haven't submitted, you are not able to apply for this grant line. The awards vary for this grant line depending on how many works or what types of works you have been accepted for this exhibition. For display of one work, we will be awarding artists $1,000. For 2 or more works exhibited, we'll be offering $1,500. And then for site-specific installations, meaning work that is produced specifically for this show on site, we will be offering $2,000, and we'll get a little bit, we'll go into more detail about site-specific installations in a few slides. So you should, it'll be made clear to you in the award process what tier you're at, and we'll proceed with payment. You can see an image of our gallery here as well. This was a juried exhibition last summer, a toast to the boogie art in the name of Funkadelic, not this most recent 2025 summer, but the one before. And this was bringing together 20 artists who were put in conversation with the archive of George Clinton from Parliament Funkadelic. And the artists were responding to the legacy of funk music and psychedelic aesthetics in the DMV and beyond in our gallery. It's a great exhibition. Some notes on artwork eligibility. Again, we would love to see artists really stretch our understanding of collage as a medium. Traditional collage is, of course, accepted, but we're accepting ceramics, photography, textile arts, sculpture, video work. We do have TVs for the display of video work that can be used in our gallery. Works that require electricity. We do have some outlets in our space. We do also have some hanging elements in our gallery space that you could propose to use. And if you are someone who is interested in exploring hanging installation work, please send me an email and I'm happy to send you photos of where that hanging equipment is in our space. A little bit more on artwork eligibility here, getting into the nuts and bolts. So, of course, the work should be in excellent condition with no need for conservation or has no damage. You can propose site-specific work, as I said, and in your application materials, you should submit a rendering of that artwork and or a description of that work in your artist statement. So you will have to submit a 250-word artist statement where you can take some of those words to describe the proposal for the artwork itself. You can submit up to 5 artworks for this exhibition. So if you need to submit more than 5 images in order to show the rendering, that's also okay. Artwork sizing. We do not have explicit size constraints attached to this exhibition. We do ask that your sizing take into consideration the space constraints of our gallery. I would suggest, if you haven't been in our gallery, to come visit us. It is quite lofty. It's a large, high ceiling space with tall walls. And so we do have the capacity to show work that is quite large, within moderation, of course. We do have some weight limitations related to wall-mounted artworks as well as sculpture. It must not exceed 60 pounds if it is a wall-mounted artwork, and freestanding sculpture should not exceed 100 pounds. Any freestanding sculpture should be able to be displayed on a pedestal, and of course, the wall is also an option. But any wall sculpture should not protrude from the wall, extend from the wall more than 6 inches. This is an ADA requirement because we want to make sure that our space is compliant and navigable for different bodies. And then finally, the artwork should be delivered to us ready for installation. So if that means it needs to be framed, it should be delivered in a frame. If it just requires D-rings or hooks, it should have that hardware already installed on the artwork itself. If it's a textile, you should deliver it with hanging elements, a rod and hooks, for example. And then if it's an electrical piece, we do have some, extension cords, etc. But if there's any specific electrical needs that your piece has, please bring that as well. There's some things that we can't allow in our gallery. They're pretty standard, especially since we're a government building. We share space with Child and Family Services. It's a high security building that requires security clearance past a certain point. So our gallery space is open to the public, but is in close proximity to a high security space. We ask that you do not include liquids or anything that requires water or in either sealed or unsealed forms. Anything that vapors, smokes, mists, that has any odors associated with it. Nothing that is flammable or toxic, volatile in any way, contains any explosive materials. Absolutely no weapons or firearms welcome in the space, and anything living or insects. So this is relevant to folks who might be using plant materials in their space. We ask that, maybe you're using soil or some types of dried plants. We ask that you like freeze the material, make sure that everything that could be living in it is dead so that you're not bringing any living materials into our space. Okay, I've been talking for a bit now. I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions. I'm not seeing any in the chat, but feel free to unmute or use your raise the hand feature at this point. I'm happy to keep going. Hi, Angelica. Yep.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. One question I had was in regards to the sharing of images. If the work is in a series, would that just be one photo, or submitted like individually?
Yeah, great question. So works in a series are permissible in the show. It is up to you how you'd like to present that work to the jury panel. Sorry, I'm admitting folks in the waiting room. And so you can submit it as like a, one long image that shows all the works. You could also choose to submit it as individual artworks, JPEGs. We ask that there's an image identification list sheet that you'll submit with your application that you specify on that image identification list that those works are in a series so that the jury just has the ability to say, okay, these are individual works, they all come together. Does that make sense?
So you just to make sure I
Yeah.
understood. So you can put like, let's say I have a series of 3, like I would just put the 3 images in one JPEG image.
You could you could absolutely do that.
Okay.
Or you could choose to submit
Good.
them as individual JPEGs. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Gail, I'm seeing your question in the chat. Are there any date limitations? Do you mean of the, how old the artwork is, I'm imagining? No, there's no date limitations.
Yes,
Is that your
that was
question?
my question. Yeah, how old the
Okay,
work
yeah.
is.
If the work is from 1970, the work is from 1970.
Okay.
Any other questions? Great. I'm going to keep moving. Again, feel free to keep using the chat. So I'm going to explain a little bit of the phases of how this grant program works. As I said, a jury panel will review and evaluate your application. They'll recommend finalists, and the finalists will be notified in mid-March. You will then sign a grant agreement that will, specify that you agree to CH's terms, that you will deliver the artwork by a specified date, et cetera, et cetera. And then we will then proceed with payment towards the grant. And you'll be asked to bring in the work in late May or early June of 2026. Going through the evaluation criteria that will be used to evaluate your work. So again, this is a juried exhibition. They will be reviewing all of the materials using this rubric. The first and highest, well, there's 2 that are equally weighted. The aesthetic and conceptual strength of the work and its adherence to the theme of the show. So, the aesthetic and conceptual strength is really looking at the quality of the work itself. Is it visually impactful work? Is it technically skillful work? Is it conceptually inventive? Is it stimulating to the viewer? The jury is, of course, a panel of experts that are deeply embedded in their arts practice and in the DMV arts ecosystem. So they'll be bringing that lens with them into their review of the aesthetic strength of the work. Then they're going to be reviewing the request for applications and what it is asking for the show to be, and weighting that against what you have submitted, and looking at how closely does it align with the theme of this show. And then the last little bit is district impact, which is trying to account for the cultural diversity of the district. As I said at the top of my presentation, we do hope to be a gallery that represents DC residents as a whole, and we hope that our gallery exhibitions reflect the diversity of the region. So this is a part of the criteria that tries to account for that desire. I see a question in the chat. Can you include mixed media collage? Yes, absolutely. You can include mixed media collage. There are a number of mandatory documents related to this application. If you are someone who is an existing grantee with us, you have applied to our grant lines before, none of these materials will surprise you. You probably have them already ready to go. If you are new to us, welcome. We're so excited to have you. And I promise that these documents are not too hard to obtain. Many of them are things related to your own practice already. So the first is an artist statement that we'll ask you to submit, that is a written description of the work that you're submitting and how it relates to your practice, as well as how it relates to the theme of this exhibition. That is a 300-word maximum artist statement, and there is a place for you to insert that artist statement in the application itself. The next is a resume. That is an artist resume that provides any lists of exhibitions that you've been in, any publications that you've been a part of, any commissions that you've done, any collections that you're a part of, and any relevant education that you have. This is not a resume if you're an artist who also works as a gardener. I love that you're a gardener, but I don't need to see your gardener resume. We're only interested in resume materials that are relevant to your artist practice. The next is an image identification list. This is a bit duplicative of what you're going to be asked to submit on the application itself in the sort of fill in the blank questions. It's just a mechanism so that our jury can sort of make sure that what they're looking at on JPEG form is reflected in the materials that you've submitted content-wise. So you'll submit a document that, let's say you've submitted 5 images, 5 artworks. Your image identification list will have 5 bits of information related to, we call them a tombstone in the arts, right? Give you the name of the artist who created the work, the title of the work, the year it was created, what medium you designate it as, the dimensions of the work, and then a brief description of the work. This is an opportunity for you to dive into the work itself, provide any additional information related to the specific work that you'd like the jury to have. This is separate from your artist statement and sort of the presentation of the artwork as a whole. You'll then, of course, submit your artwork files, and we'll go through, we'll do a live demonstration of how you'll submit these artworks themselves into the application. We ask you to submit high quality JPEG files. This can sometimes trip people up because they don't have access to, high quality camera equipment, and so they feel like they can't submit their work. You should make sure that there's not any sort of background info in the background of the image that you've taken that could distract the jury from reviewing your work, a brick wall, or maybe you've used one of those AI softwares that sort of places the work in a fake bedroom We actually don't want to see the fake bedroom. We just want to see the artwork itself. So please just submit as clear of a shot of the artwork itself as you can. You'll submit that and label the files sort of with a standardized naming protocol. Maybe it's your last name with the title of the artwork, just so that you can keep organized, and it helps us keep organized as well. And then if you are applying on behalf of a an artist as a part of their estate, you will need to submit an additional document that testifies that the artist's estate, or that you have, access to the artist's estate, that you are the legal representative, or that you have the express permission of the artist to submit on their behalf. There's a number of compliance documents that you will need to submit that have nothing to do with your artist practice, that are purely related to applying to this grant line. The first is standard across any grant that you are applying to across the entirety of the DC government. So this is not something that CAH is specific to CAH, and it's standard across all applications. You will need to obtain a certificate of clean hands from the Office of Tax and Revenue. That sounds quite scary. I promise you, you can submit for one and receive it as a DC resident fairly quickly. A certificate of clean hands is a document that attests that you do not owe large sums of money to the DC government in the form of unpaid parking tickets, unpaid taxes, or fines. The concept behind the DC government requiring that you submit this document is that they do not want to give funds to you in the form of a grant if you owe them funds. We recognize that, especially at CAH, we really recognize that this can be quite prohibitive for artists. Artists, have varying forms of income, can often be paycheck to paycheck, and paying the parking ticket at the end of the month is hard sometimes. If you are one of those artists who will not be able to obtain a certificate of clean hands for this application, there are mechanisms for entering into a payment plan with the Office of Tax and Revenue so that you can obtain a provisional clean hands so that you can apply to our grant lines. I'm happy to send you more information on where you can find the opportunity to do that. But if you visit the My Tax DC website, you will find a lot of that information there as well. I'm going to drop a link in the chat right now. So that's some information on the certificate of clean hands process. The next document is standard to CAH. It's one that you simply fill out with your name and address and sign and date. It's a document that just certifies that you agree to CAH's terms of grant making. It says, I agree to XYZ. You sign a date, you upload it with your application. You will find all of these, you'll find this document on the JEG landing page that I put in the chat earlier. But there's the statement of certification that you can upload with your application. You will also find it in the application itself. Next is a proof of residency. So this is a government issued ID. If you have a driver's license, we do not accept passports because, those are good for 10 years. You could have moved. And so if you don't have a driver's license or DC residency ID, we ask that you submit 2 forms of documentation demonstrating your proof of residency. So that might be a rental agreement, a utility bill, etc. The last is a W-9 form. This is used at the time of payment. It confirms that you you know, live where you say you live, and we ask that you submit, it says 2018 version here, but we ask that you submit a 2024 version of the W-9. I just dropped it in the chat with your application. Okay. Are there any questions at this point about the mandatory documents to submit with your application? Carol, are you trying to unmute yourself? You have a question? Okay, let me try to unmute you.
To unmute myself. Am I muted?
Yes, you're good.
Okay.
I can hear you.
All this wonderful information that I unfortunately came to late in my visit, is it going to be recorded and available later?
Yes, this is being recorded right now, and it will be available online for you to return back to. I'll send it to you by email as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so feel free to keep using the chat if you have any further questions. I'm going to switch to doing a live demonstration of how you can submit your application. Again, the deadline for applications is December 1st at 9 p.m. and it is a hard deadline. One moment. Let me switch my screens. I think there's a question in the chat. Regarding the format of the work, are artist books with collages something that can be submitted to? So I would say I'd love to talk to you further about what you have in mind. Our gallery is certainly a place where we can present books on display. If it's something that would require a pedestal, we can happily provide a pedestal for a book to be displayed. If you're encouraging touch of the book itself, people to flip through it, interact with it, we've certainly had books on display in the past as well. But yes, books with collages can certainly be submitted. Okay, so this is our, can everyone see? What can you see? Yes, this is our grant application portal. I'm going to drop a link in the chat right now to this portal so that you have it. But there's also a link on the Juried Exhibition grant landing page where you can go to this page as well. If you have never submitted a grant with us or an application with us in the past, you'll hit sign up today, put in your information, create a profile. I am going to sign in using my email here. And you'll get this welcome message here. You can hit continue. And you'll be taken to a Your Applications page. You can see on the side, there's a number of different options here. My open applications, my closed applications. This is where you can find anything related to existing applications that you have or have had in the past. We'll get into your media library and your awards in a second. But for purposes of applying to this grant line, you'll hit this new application green button. And you'll be taken to a page where you can see all of the open grant opportunities for CAH right now. As you can see, Juried Exhibition Grant is at the bottom here. You get a little pop-up window that gives you a summary of the grant line. Say it says for individuals only. You'll notice a button here that says preview. If you click this button, it will automatically download a Microsoft Word version of the application itself so that you can pre-populate your all of your answers to the questions so that you can just copy paste all of your material into the application itself when you're ready. This might be good for you if you're someone who wants to work slower, you want to sort of get your materials together, and gives you a hard copy of everything so that if you forget to save your work, etc., the website times out, you have this copy. So I'm going to check this box here, and it will automatically take you to some eligibility questions. First is, are you 18 years or older? Yes. Are you a resident of DC for at least a year? Yes. Have you read the guidelines? Yes. Congratulations, you're eligible. Hit save and continue. You get a couple more questions. Have you received a grant from CH within the last 5 years? I'm going to say no. Has your address changed in the past 12 months? This is only for our internal use. It helps us during our payment processing. It has no reflection on your grant. I'm going to say no. Save and continue. Then you're taken to some standard application questions. What's your name? My name's Michelle Mayberry. I'm going to input my address. Ward, my phone number, my email. If you have a website, you can submit it here. The jury will be able to see your website if you submit it. And then we have this drop-down menu of all the different artistic disciplines that you might represent. This is not, information that is used by our jury. I'm not really even sure what it's used for. But you can scroll down here to visual arts if you'd like. It is a required field, so you will have to pick one of these fields. I'm going to pick visual arts. Are you a first-time applicant? I'm going to say no. And then you are taken to a place where you will upload all of your application materials. So I'm going to start with attaching my artwork files because this is the trickiest part of the application, in my opinion. It's not quite intuitive to folks who have never submitted using our portal. Thankfully, you'll hear it here first. CAH is transitioning to a new grant application portal this next year that is going to be easier and more navigable for the modern user. And we'll be phasing out this grant application portal. So this is hopefully the last time that you will have to interact with this portal. Our media viewer is where you will be submitting your images. You'll think about your media library as your documents folder, and you will have to attach the images from your document folder into the application by making sure that they are like sort of brought into your application once they're already in the system. So you can hit this attach media from library button, and it will take you to this pop-up page here. Because I've done this before, I have a few different artwork images already in my media viewer. But for purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to upload a new media file. And you'll have an opportunity here to choose a file. It'll take you to a pop-up window to insert from your computer. I'm just gonna pick a random image here and open it. And I'm going to hit submit. And it says attachment successfully added. But of course I can't see it because that would be far too easy. I'm going to close the media file and then open it again, and it should be right there at the top. So here's the image that I just uploaded. In order to attach any image that you have submitted to your media library, let's say you've done this 5 times, you have all 5 images that you would like in your application in your media library. So let's say this one, I'm going to submit this one up here, this one here, it's my headshot, and then a couple sample works, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to submit all of those into the application itself. In order to put it into the application, you have to click this blue version of the title of the file itself. So all of these here. We're going to click this, and you see it automatically populates into your application. So we'll do that a few more times. We'll click this button. It'll populate over here. There we go. Okay, now I have all the images I want in my application. I'm going to hit close, and I'm going to hit save here because you want to just save as you go. It's going to take you to the last page, and it's going to say, oh, you're missing all these documents because you haven't submitted them yet. But you can see that all of the artworks that I've submitted have attached. Sometimes they don't want to attach, and you might have to attach them multiple times. I'm sorry for that. It is a clunky old system, and please be patient with it as you apply. So you can go back here in order to get back into your application saying, oh, a bunch of these documents are missing. Go back to add files, and you'll have the opportunity to continue with your application. So the next step that you have to do now that the artworks are attached to your application is that you're going to need to fill out all of the necessary information related to the artworks in the application. So as you can see, with the ones that I've already used in previous applications, it says it has this like green required here, right? It says click to update the required media file information. All of this is already submitted. But up top for the one that I have just entered into my media library, it's red and we have nothing associated with it. You will not be able to submit your application if that required is red, because it means that you haven't submitted any of the necessary information related to this file. So I'm going to go ahead and click this button, and it's going to give me the opportunity to input all of the relevant information here. So I'm going to say the title of this work is gallery view. The media type is photograph. You have the opportunity to input the subtype. So I'm going to say it's an inkjet print. It's created in 2025. It does require you to put a retail price associated with this image, with this artwork. That is up to you. It does not bear a reflection on this application process. So, you know, I'm gonna say that this work is worth $1,800. Its dimensions should reflect what it will be, the artwork dimensions that it will be displayed at in the gallery. So say it's, you know, the 12 by 36 inches. And then you have an opportunity to describe the work. So this is a screenshot from CAH's virtual gallery depicting our DC Art Now 2025 exhibition. You know, you have 200 words to write whatever you'd like related to this work. Hit save. And as you can see, it's now green here, and everything's green because I've inputted all this, but you might have to input all this information. And then at the bottom here, you will be able to input all of your relevant files. So your artist statement, we ask that for all of these files that you submit PDFs instead of Word docs, because it allows the jury to view the documents within the application as opposed to them being downloaded onto their computer. So you'll submit all of your relevant documents here. I'm going to just put in a bunch of dummy docs for your artist statement, your resume, your image identification list, your clean hands, statement of certification, W-9, and your driver's license. So you have files in all of these places. If you need to add a document to your application, this might be relevant to you if you're submitting a rendering that is not a JPEG. So you might submit your rendering into your media library. That might be here. You might choose to add a document that allows you to submit a rendering here. Hit save and continue. It says, your application is not complete. Please finish the application to be able to submit. Let's see what we did not submit. Sometimes it hasn't populated something important. So it looks like for some reason it didn't capture my first name. That's probably a relevant field. Yep. See, so it says the values required. I'm going to input Michelle, hit save and continue. Now I'm going to go back to final review. And now we have no, red errors. And we can go ahead to the submit application button. I see a hand raised. Gail, is your question related to the application portal? Before I hit submit, I can help demonstrate something.
Yeah,
Sure.
I have two questions. One is,
Sure.
I always have trouble getting them in the order I want them to appear.
Yeah.
So that's one question, how we do that. And the other one is the description, the 200-word description for each piece. Is that something that the jurors see? Is that important?
So your first question about the order, that is unfortunately not something that you can account for in the uploading of the images. You can account for it in the image identification list. You can't guarantee that they're gonna, say, okay, this is the correct order to view the works in. So if you're submitting something like a triptych and you want to make sure that they're seeing, okay, one is the left, one's the middle, one's the right, your best bet is to submit an image of the triptych fully on display in one image, because our portal doesn't account for correctly ordering it in the image, in the submission of the images. Your second question was about the descriptions associated with the artworks. So the jury does have the ability to see descriptions of all of the artworks. It is not a requirement that you submit long form descriptions of the artworks themselves. It's really up to you how you'd like to use that space. I've seen some artists just say, this is a work created during residency that, depicts a beautiful, nature scene near the studio in which I was working, right? Or you could take all 200 words and dig into the storytelling of the work itself. Sometimes the jury does really appreciate having that extra information. And as a curator, it does help me in the writing process for the show. If I'm writing wall text, or if I need to do a curator's tour of the show, just to be able to have something in your words that allows you to represent the work as you see it. So the short answer is it's up to you how you would like to use that 200 words, but it's not a strong requirement of the application. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps. So the order, it's just random. There's really no way of controlling it.
Not that I know of, Gail. I'm hoping that our next grant application portal allows for us to control that a little bit more. I'm sure it will, because it's one of the favorites of the grant applicant portals.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, question in the chat. Would you recommend, can you submit detail shots of the pieces you submit? So detail shots can sometimes overwhelm the jury, especially if they're reviewing lots of images. I would use the detail shot sparingly. And if you really want to account for some three-dimensionality or some of the strong detail work that you're doing, I would say no more than one or two tops. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. I'm going to put in my initials here. Get ready to submit and submit. Say thank you for your submission, and you should get an email immediately afterwards confirming that your submission has gone through. There it is in my inbox. I just got an email. And you are all set. I am going to hop back over to the PowerPoint. Okay. We're just about to wrap up here. I just wanted to point out that we have slides for navigating the portal in this PowerPoint deck that I'm going to send your way. It has everything in terms of what buttons to click if you get tripped up, if you don't want to watch this video again. It's all right here. We do have a few recorded workshops that might be relevant to this application process, steps to success for visual art applications, demystifying the grant panel process, actually what the jury is up to when they're meeting, and then the components of a great grant application here. These are all on our YouTube channel. And then if you have any questions, would like to meet about your application, there's two of us who are working on this grant line. I'm the main curator. Here's my email and my phone number. I have a co-curator, Deirdre Darden, who's also on our public art team, who can help field any questions that you have. And I really want to thank you for attending. I'm seeing a couple more questions in the chat, so I'm going to take a little bit more time to answer them. How many works should we submit? You can submit up to 5 artworks. And there's information related to this, Carol, in the request for applications. You can find that on the landing page for our Juried Exhibition grant. And I'll share a bunch of information, again, via email. If a series of 5 works is being created specifically for the show, must all works in the series be completed and submitted during the application process and by the application deadline? Great question, Carolyn. And they do not need to all be completed for the application. You can propose new works for the jury to review. In the application, we just ask that you submit renderings of the artwork or written descriptions of the work that you would like to create. If you'd like to approximate the artwork via existing work that you have, that might be another way that you can do that. So you can produce work after you have been awarded a grant. How long do the clean hand certificates last? So we ask that you submit a certificate of clean hands that is dated after the RFA was posted. So we posted the RFA on October 20th. So you have to have a certificate that is dated after October 20th. And we will probably ask for another certificate of clean hands at the time of award if you are awarded. They last about 60 days, I think. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, so October 20th and beyond for this application. Any other questions? I'm gonna wrap us up. We were supposed to go for 90 minutes. We're going for a little less than that. I really, really want to thank you for sticking on this whole way through. I'm so excited to see what you submit. This is oh, Gail, I see a question from you.
Sorry, I have one more question. So, how important is it that it be a unified body of work, or if they're all disparate works, or 4 of them relate to each other, but one of them is different?
Sure. Yeah, it's totally up to you. We have seen artists submit a sculpture, a textile, a photograph, and a watercolor, and have a successful application.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and yeah, we've seen artists submit, 4 beautiful watercolors, and the jury says, we love how cohesive this presentation is. So it's kind of, it's very subjective. And with this grant line, there is an opportunity for more than one work to be displayed in the gallery.
Thank
So,
you, Chief. All I'm getting
maybe
submitted.
you have
And I'm out of it.
one,
You get
maybe you have,
$1,000 for the one they pick, $150 if 2 and 3.
exactly,
take 2.
correct.
Something like that.
So one work sort of
Exhibit,
displayed.
where a lot of people we see
Let me view here. You could have one artwork displayed that is a sculpture, another that is a watercolor, and the jury could say this is a really great comparison of the artist's practice. You could have the same jury say, I can't get a sense of this artist's practice. So I'm sorry to not give you a better, more straightforward answer, but I really have seen it go both ways. Any other questions? Okay. Gonna wrap this up. Okay. Take care, everyone. I'm going to be emailing you shortly with all this information. And again, really excited to see what you submit. This is a exhibition that's really dear and close to my heart. And I hope that you feel inspired to create as a result of it. Take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.